Welcome to Riverbend Talon on WBGZ. Brought to you by the Halpin Music Company.
Another Riverbend Talon on a Thursday night where the Sea Shanties Sing-Along is already underway down at Morrison's Irish Pub. This show brought to you by Halpin Music Company and by Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance. And Rock the Hop's going to be taking place on August 9th. So if you want to get involved in that, now's the time to submit your stuff if you're an artist or a venue or just want to get your tickets. I got the early bird tickets going on as well, rockthehops.com. And now's the time. Get ready for August 9th, Rock the Hops. Also going on tonight, open mic down at the Conservatory at 7:30. The Truckers, 6 to 10 at Fast Eddie's in Alton. Matt Tall up at George's Pub and Grill in Jerseyville until 9 o'clock. Instant replay until 9 o'clock at Big Daddy's in Edwardsville. Blake Foltz until 10 o'clock at the Cabin at Judy Creek and Glen Carbon. It's Jeff Chapman and Kurt Lemon getting underway at 7 o'clock tonight at Deutsch Village Inn at Pontoon Beach, going till 11 o'clock. Hot Winter Nights with Scott and Michelle getting underway at 6:30, going to 8:30 at the Mill in Granite City. Full Circle already underway up the Prairie Inn in Dorsey, going till 8:30. We got the open mic up at Mississippi Culture tonight in Staunton from 6:30 to 9:30, and always the Experience Live Music Pro down there in Belleville. They still got that going on. Are you submitting your stuff to Rock the Hops there, Pigpen? No, he's not. He already forgot.
What am I supposed to submit to him?
Well, if you're a band, you want to go, hey, can I be a part of this festival? Right. And if you're a venue, you could say, hey, can I be a part of this?
I didn't know
and
if you had
specifics.
Vendor,
you can,
Well, I didn't
you
know
ever
if you
put
had...
on a festival? I mean, don't you put the word out and say, hey, submit some stuff?
I was trying to lead you into, I didn't know if you had the specifics of if you're a band, what you're going to want to do is send them a song, a recording or
whatever works, right?
Yeah. I mean, whatever gets you in. I was just trying to open up the conversation. I thought you might have more specifics. You're right. I know what to do.
Did you read the paper? It says right there my specifics.
You think you're so smart because you can read.
I put it out there right in front of you, just in case you had any questions.
Yeah, I forgot my glasses.
But of course, we know when you do festivals, you pick the bands. That way, they're all playing free.
Well, not all
Except
of them.
your headliner.
I was going to say, and not just the headliner. We paid more than just the headliners, but you get as many of your friends to come throw you a freebie as you can till you start making money, which I've never done.
I doubt if the bands that Rock the Hops get paid. Mostly original material. You never get paid to do original.
Well, and that's the thing is that most of the bands, when you're doing a festival, a lot of times it's original material that you're getting. Not always, but a lot of times. I actually just saw a band, oddly enough, in Nashville for the first time over the weekend called Disco. And I put a bid in them on 2019. They're from Indiana. And so many people from Effingham talked about them. I put a bid without even hearing them. And I had to tell the singer after the show, I said, I passed on you in 2019 because you wanted a couple grand and I was poor.
Yeah.
But after hearing you, if I could go back, I would pay it because they were really good.
There you go.
And, so sometimes you make the wrong calls. Going cheap doesn't always pay off.
And sometimes bands volunteer their time to help raise money for great causes. And this is why we do the show.
Absolutely.
That's why Matt Van Voorhis says you guys are cute and cuddly. Halpin Music has been rolling with us now going on a lot of years.
I don't know how many years.
I have to look back. But we got to be closing in on 10. I think I said last year was 9, but I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I remember one year we counted up 7 or 8. It's been going on. It all feels like one long day to me, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
But right now, it just so happens right now at 6:05, I'm feeling a little more like
we have
myself than I did earlier. I don't know. I feel like introducing the guest. Welcome back to the show. We got BC Homegrown. We got Brad Cummins. What's going on, man?
It's just good to be here. Good to be here with you guys.
Good to have you back. Next to him, we got Mr. Chuck, the bass thumper. What's happening, man? Living large over there?
Living large.
Living large? You guys didn't pregame enough, man. You're not as excited as I am.
Well,
don't you know who our guests? It's like you don't know who your guests are.
We just don't want to interrupt you. That's all.
They are courteous, not like me.
We try to be courteous.
A wise
Until we've
man.
had enough whiskey.
Oh, we're getting there.
I try to get all my talking in the first 3 minutes because after that it's all his.
I was born with the gift of gab. Hey, speaking of the gift of gab, I'm going to gab about some guys, Al Coalson and Larry Vandiver. Now, I realize that they're boycotting this show because I got handsy with them last time. I was a little, I was drinking. I had a few in me. I mean, you can't sit next to a guy like Al Coalson and not want to get a little handsy. Let's admit he's the eye candy of the band. No, I don't.
Most of our people are blind. Just so you know, I don't.
Larry Vandiver's like, he's not the eye candy, I'm the eye candy.
Yeah, it's always a drummer. It's always a drummer.
And every musician who has a kid is teaching them to play drums because for some reason there's a shortage of drummer in these days. I don't know why. What's wrong with this world?
It drives your family crazy. All that banging and booming and
right.
I don't know who we're gonna do that.
It was all those years of rock band. Everyone could afford the guitar, but nobody could afford the drums. So we ended up with a bunch of guitar players.
And you get all the setup and tear down.
Right. Yeah.
To do with a drummer.
And that is a big reason why I want to play flute. It just is like
pretty easy.
Yeah. Jethro Tull cover band together. Maybe do some Marshall Tucker. I don't know.
Anyway, flute's cool.
Hey, so it's been a while since we had you on. Last time we had you on, you were promoting a show that you were throwing at the Miners Theater, I believe.
It was at the Lincoln Theater.
At the Lincoln
in
Theater
Belleville.
in
That's
Belleville.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so I was one town
Album
over.
release party.
And I did not make it to that, but I have heard rumor that place was packed.
It was packed. We were very blessed. It was just awesome.
I can tell you who started the rumor. It was this guy right over here.
We like those kind of rumors. That's a good rumor.
It was almost capacity.
It
I would
really
have to
was.
say.
It was great.
Yeah.
We worked our butts off to make that thing
Now,
a success.
what you did there, a lot of people might not even know, but it was legendary to some of us because you were, what was it, the Flying Eagles, Screaming Eagle?
We were the Screaming Eagles.
You were the Screaming Eagle jam band.
That's
and
true.
you were a cover band doing jam stuff, right?
Yep.
And one day you changed hats, renamed yourself BC Homegrown, and you're an original band all of a sudden. This happened pretty quickly. And then you had an album. I mean, that might have been going on behind the scenes, but we didn't see it up front. Suddenly, you're BC Homegrowns. You do a couple shows. You're an original band. You put an album out, and you throw a paid show. I don't know. I can't remember what the tickets were, but those tickets were paid tickets at that Lincoln Theater for an original band that just came out. And you packed the place. I don't know what you've done. I don't know who you signed a deal with. You're Robert Johnson all over.
We fogged in crazy stuff through the circulation system in the room,
right?
And that was part of the deal.
Well, let's see.
Can't tell you what it was, but people were happy.
It's okay. I've had this discussion with enough musicians. The one thing that guarantees to make music psychedelic is psychedelics.
It always helps.
Yeah, Brad alluded to it earlier. They worked very hard.
We did
to fill that theater.
Yeah. Well, so congrats, because I'm telling you what, to throw for we tell a lot of the local bands that are young guys that come in how lucky they are to have the conservatory, to have places that will actually house original music, because back in our day coming up, you had to rent a VFW, you had to find a place. And you'd get a couple other buddies' bands, and you try so hard, but you never break even. If you did, you bought so many T-shirts that you still didn't break even.
So if a band,
T-shirts are a losing deal.
So if a band wants to try what you guys did and go down to the Lincoln Theater, how do you get in the Lincoln Theater? Do you have to rent that?
You do. You
Okay.
actually have to rent it. There's a fee. There's a standard fee that they charge. And then that kind of, but with that, I mean, that gives them full staff, so they've got a sound person, they've got a light guy, they've got people that are working the counters.
The vending.
All the stuff. Yeah, all the things. So
Yeah.
that's part of that fee, but there's definitely a standard fee. And then beyond that, if you do any advertising, obviously you're paying for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make up flyers, or we tried going some radio advertising, and so that was an added cost. So there's some costs involved in doing that.
Can
kind
we
of
be
work.
super nosy and ask how much it costs to rent that place?
It was $2,000.
Okay.
Was the base rent. Now we know from talking to the guys at like the Wildy, they went like $3,600
Right.
for a weeknight.
Okay.
There, so they vary in price,
Right.
and what they do.
And like you said, it includes staff. It includes, sound.
Yeah.
What's it cost to run sound in a place like that, Pigpen?
yeah.
Yeah.
At least half of that.
I was going to say, you're going to pay that much for sound.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of you can understand it.
Right.
There's some cost involved.
So what's the capacity on the place? Do you
That
know?
place will hold 500.
Yeah, a sound system to support quality sound to 500 people is going to cost you, almost what this fee here for renting the
There
place
you go.
with sound is, at least half of that. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
you can't buy. You can't rent equipment for that much if you had your own sound. You know what I mean? If
But
you had
you can
someone
understand, like if you have a local band that they're charging $19 a ticket or something, there really is, that's legit. I mean, it's
Yeah.
costing
Yeah.
them that
Absolutely.
to just put on the show.
Yeah.
I did free festivals for a few years just to figure out how to do it because you got to figure it out first.
Mm-hmm.
And once I thought I had it down, really the thing was finding a place. And once I found a place, and through my first paid festival, I had some of my own friends. It was $50 for the weekend ticket, 2 nights. And I had some of my own friends going, "Oh, you'll never get that." It didn't include camping. Camping was next door.
Mm-hmm.
But I had Melvin Seals and JGB headline in the second night. I had Terrapin Flower headline in the first night.
So you're paying for those guys.
So I'm paying sound for 2 days, 2 stages,
Yeah. And the bands.
and bands switching out every hour or so. Getting bigger as it goes to the headliner from noon until midnight. 2 stages. People don't realize how much all that costs.
Oh, yeah. Somebody manages the parking, right? Who manages the
exactly?
parking?
I mean,
Who does
every
all
little
the
thing
stuff?
has to. Someone's got to clean the bathrooms, man.
Everything's a cost.
Yeah, exactly. Everything costs money, and the bigger the party, the bigger the cost. And a lot of them, once they saw the show and stuff, they went, "Oh, okay." So a lot of 500 people showed up and paid $50, and you did it.
But when you think about it, you put on a heck of a show, and they got some good entertainment. It's really pretty cheap.
When you break it down, so festival goers know. That's dirt cheap, especially here it is like 10 years later or whatever. Festivals goers knew that, but guys who just do local shows that are used to charging $10-15 as a lot, we're like, "Oh, who's going to pay that?" Well, dude, it's a festival. You know how many bands you're getting, But yeah, $2,000 good price. I'm just going to say it.
It
Good
actually
price.
is not a horrible price for what it was.
To get a venue that holds 500 people or 500 capacity with lights, sound, and staff for all of the things that it takes in the building. Wow, that's a lot. It really.
And then
is.
they look at it; they're making their money off the concessions and
Sure.
sales
Absolutely.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I wish we got to cut the alcohol because there was a lot of it moving that night.
Definitely, yeah.
And
money off
that's
that
where like a lot of the money is made is off the that
beer
sort of
sales or
thing.
whatever.
We've all seen the shows over at St. Charles Family Arena where you get the tickets free. And it took me a minute to sort of see how they do it. They'll have a weekend, and they'll book a band on Friday or Saturday that they're paying for, and then on the other day or Sunday, then they cut the place in half. They have the way to do that. They only half staff, and they make their money off parking and beer. And they have, the band still gets paid, the sound man's still getting paid, but all that's coming in off, and you don't mind paying $10 for parking and paying for beer when the ticket's free. You still feel like you got a good deal.
Yeah.
And everybody's making a little, and nobody's making a killing necessarily, but everybody's making a little something. And, having the national band on the one day helps pay for that other stuff, So always happy to see that kind of thing happening where people figure out ways to make it, you got to make it work on the down low,
Yeah.
trying to make the biggest show you can out of the few dollars you got in the old finance box.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that insight.
Absolutely.
Too. I didn't know about the Wild E. That's something I've always wondered. So yeah.
I don't know what the weekend price is. I didn't question about that, but the weekday price was
that's
expensive. And then you had to buy an insurance policy with that.
Okay.
So I don't know what that is, $400 or $500, whatever it is. You had to buy insurance and pay their fee.
And a lot of people that are thinking about throwing festivals, the words you just said is a big hiccup, because I just had someone a few weeks ago asking about throwing a festival, and I said, well, you got to have the right place. And they're like, well, we got tons of land. They were down in Missouri. I said, you got to be able to insure that land for a festival.
Right.
If you can't do that,
somebody gets hurt.
However many acres you got, ain't yours no more. So that's a big part of it right there. But anyway, so back to BC Homegrown.
Yes.
We got a lot to talk about with you guys.
That release party was for Believe, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Was there like 10, 12 songs on that?
Yeah, nine songs on that one. Yep.
Yeah. In a while.
Well, we're in the studio now. We just got done Tuesday and Wednesday this week. We're in Bird Cloud Studio right here local, Collinsville. Shout out to Ryan Wasaba. Great guy to work with, great sound guy. And
heard great things about him.
We're happy with the initial presentation. We still got more work to do, but we laid down another 5 songs there. So we're working on another compilation to throw out there. So
we always hear great things about Ryan.
He does a great job.
Yeah, that's good.
Good facility.
So I'm always interested, and I think I can guess with you guys that you're doing sort of live recordings with maybe a little touch-up.
Pretty much.
So you're not building it from a skeleton going, we're going to lay the drums.
Well, I usually kind of go with, just because I don't know, I go with what that engineer
wants to do.
Ryan's style is much different than Believe. That guy wanted click track. He wanted it very dialed in. He, and very methodical. And Ryan is very methodical in a different way. He wanted a live presentation with no click track. He wanted you to go with your energy.
Yeah.
And kind of manage it that way.
That's cool, though, that you've got to try both.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's neat to watch those guys work. They're truly masters.
Interesting to see what they hear.
Yeah,
that we're not necessarily hearing, and when we go back and redo it, it's like, oh yeah, wow, that sounds a lot better. So
yeah.
And a good engineer is not bashful about saying, you maybe ought to do that part over again, or maybe you got to add this in here. I like that input. I want them to be a part of what's going on in a big way, more than just I'm turning knobs. Like, hey, I'm engaged in the sound and style of this song now because I'm in it.
I think of engineers more of the guys who are turning knobs and running wires, and the producer hat when they start stepping in and going, hey man, anything with the arrangement, or even hey, try that guitar, but let's put it in the hallway, and record it out there. Whatever it is that they hear, I think of that as a little bit more of a producer type hat than an engineer,
and I like that myself. I'm looking for that.
I was going to say a good engineer and producer aren't just turning knobs and stuff. They're engaged into what's happening, and they are trying to produce the absolute best product that they can.
Because you think about when you're a band, you can get kind of tunnel visions, right? And what you do, it's nice to have that out. Somebody that when you come to a sound recording studio, that guy's probably never heard your songs. Right. And so it's a fresh set of ears listening to your music, going, maybe this or that, and it just expands what is possible.
Yeah,
I really encourage it.
Like I say, if you have a producer that is giving you ideas, as long as they're not as long as they don't have this pre thought before they've even heard your music of what they like. Oh, I like it super shiny and super.
That's true.
Where they've already got this pigeonholed sound that is their sound. Because there are some guys that are kind of like that, but a good producer is listening for what you've got. And what they hear, how to make that great, and do they hear something? Bandmates is the same way. You write a song and you play it for them, and they go, you know what, that one bar, let's double that. Mm-hmm. Even though you're like, whoa, why didn't I think of that? That sounds so good like that.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I was going to say,
as a young band, if you're a young band thinking about this kind of thing, truly encourage you to go into a real studio with an engineer. And let them kind of take part in what you're doing. It's absolutely gonna change your view of what you're doing.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they also, like I say, encouraging you to try recording it with different sounds because they hear something slightly different. Hey, let's put one mic close to that amp and one way back here and catch
this
it.
Dude had, for instance, bass drum treatment last night. He had a little tom-tom that he put a speaker in and wired it backwards, and it became a microphone. It was just like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't know where you learned geeky stuff like that, but he did, and it was.
He knows how to capture
it had
sound.
a great
sounded
bass,
nice and
and it
full.
made that bass drum sound awesome. I
Wow.
never even know that would exist.
Yeah.
And there's several ways to go about it, and all of them could be good ways. And that's what's great about music in general. I mean, you can write it this way, you can write it that way,
Yeah.
And, some stories that have popped in my head while you guys were talking that are kind of devil's advocate to this idea. Tom Schultz first popped in my head. Okay, so he did it all at his house and didn't tell the record label he did it at his house.
Just brought the tracks in.
And then brought the tracks in because he wasn't happy with how they were doing things.
And they had Boston had such a unique sound.
They did.
I mean,
He invented the rock man.
Good. The guitar sound on it was just groundbreaking.
Yeah. Well, Tommy Schultz invented the rock man. He was a producer, engineer, musician. I mean, he knew sound.
MIT grad.
There
You
go.
know what I mean?
Sharp guy,
He
very
worked
educated.
He worked for Polaroid.
Yeah.
He was a real smart guy. So there's one way to look at it, but there's been guys that, dabble, that aren't engineers, that can figure out how a band sounds. And this takes me to a guy I went and seen a recording seminar on, and the guy, you might remember him, Blue Sarcino. And you know what he said? Whatever sounds good to you, it's your release. That's what you want.
Yeah.
So if you can find a way to take a $10 guitar and make it sound like a Les Paul, and that's the sound you want, then that's how you do it.
He just kind of rolled with
Yeah.
what you're going to, your vibe.
So, it all depends on your ears, what it really comes down to, I guess,
Yeah.
Same with music, you might like this band, I might not,
Right.
So,
Right.
And some of it comes down to the songwriter's perspective where they go, I hear it this way in my head. This is the way I want it. And so they don't like that outside force of a producer trying to do it. But if you're more of a collaborator or whatever, with this particular project, you're like looking for input.
I'm
You're looking for
absolutely
everybody's
that guy.
input because you can always reject. You can always say, let's keep it this way.
I can tell you, like in my head, and this guy I'll give a kudos to. I write a song and I have a mindset of what I'm feeling about, and he comes up with bass lines that are like,
yeah.
It's just way cooler than what I would have thought of, And so I like collaboration.
Yeah.
So personally, I love collaboration.
I watched a Motorhead documentary earlier today. And about halfway through Motorhead's career, Fast Eddie Clarke decides to leave the band. Now, it's a three-piece. And we've all heard Motorhead. And they all talked about how much had changed when the next guy came in. And, I'm listening to those records going, I can't really tell too much difference from the first guitar player to the second guitar player. But, those guys were right into their music. So they knew. They talked about the second guy, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, playing a bluesier style.
All the little nuance that they felt in the music.
I don't hear much blues when I hear Motorhead.
No, I don't think blues when I'm thinking Motorhead.
But that's my point. That's my point. The people involved in the project have their opinion, and the people listening to it have their
But
opinion.
they're really into it. They're going, there's a difference here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, can you imagine, the first Butthole Surfers album comes out? How many people are like, it sounds like, or Frank Zappa, it sounds like
two
noise
guys
to
who
'em.
did their own thing.
Yeah, but they did their own thing, and
No producers.
But that's what was
produced it,
cool
so.
about that era was each band seemed to be they were independent, of the other bands.
Yeah.
Everybody had their own style. It seems like now the promoters, the producers have they're genning out. It's almost like a formula.
Well,
and I like the old stuff because it was very personal. It was their own expression, and I like that. I hope you never lose that in pop music.
There's a few things I would say on that where I know exactly what you mean. Where it used to seem like everybody was going for their own flavor of this thing that we're doing, and then there's always the Johnny Come Latelys who goes, "Oh, that's selling. Let's do that."
That's what happens.
And I mean, sure,
Led Zeppelin and Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Totally different platforms, but both were very successful, and I think because they were just expressing their own style of stuff. And nowadays, if you listen to a lot of the stuff that's coming out today, it kind of all sounds the same to me.
Well, and so
I've got a reason for that. I mean, Ozzy said it like in the 90s. He's like, everything's been done already.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
right.
It's like,
I mean, that's true. What do you do with it?
I played with a guitar player for a few years, old Alex Ranson. You were friends with old Alex Ranson. He moved.
I was.
Yeah, he good guy. But one day I'm playing keyboards, and he goes, "What are you trying to do over there?" I said, "I'm trying to play not a note." He's like, "What's that?" I said, "Something that's not a note." Because it hasn't been done before. Every note on this keyboard has been played.
Right,
Every sound has been
true.
made before.
It's hard to be original.
It's hard to
You
come
really
up with,
can't altogether. It's going to be influenced by what.
And he's like, "Well, what's the point?" And I said, "Well, it's not that I'm going to find the exact thing I'm looking for, but along the way you might find something that you go, oh, it's not, it's hard to find anything that you can't go, that has exactly been done already. How, you write a song, you take it to your buddies, they're like, that is Little Feat."
But those groups you love, they just capture something. There's something unspoken. Those groups you really love, that they just have a moxie about them that it just draws you in.
So let me ask you this: so a lot of the people that would come in, a lot of musicians started out with like punk rock, because you're angry, you're young, and it's 3 chords, it's easy. It doesn't have to sound good. You got crap equipment because you're young, And so I don't know what kind of music you came up on, but did your parents say it all sounds the same?
Well, I'm sure my music was not my dad's music.
Right. You know what I mean? So I think that the kids probably do hear difference. And like my son got into a phase, he's not there so much now, but he was into, rap and trap music and this sort of thing. And I'd let him play it in the car when he was little on the way to school,
Oh, yeah,
And every night you could hear some different nuances, but a lot of it did sound the same to me. And I thought, well, if I say that, I'm just my dad. So don't say that. Instead, let's ask him what the song's about.
No, my grandson educated me on all the different varieties of rap there are. There's
Yeah.
like lover rap and soft rap and this. It all sounds kind of the same to me, but it's not my thing.
Right.
You know?
And that's the way my dad felt about rock and roll. He listened to, Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash, and he thought all the rock and roll is just distorted guitars. All just sounds the same to me.
Yeah.
And,
little did he know that he was listening to rock and roll.
He
That
absolutely
country
was.
you just named had some rock and roll.
Oh, it definitely,
in it.
absolutely did.
Yeah.
First time I took my wife to a Willie Nelson concert, she said, I had no idea about the hippie cowboy crossover. I'm like, oh, there's a huge hippie cowboy crossover.
I love outlaw country.
Yeah, there's huge hippie cowboy crossover. And it's because of Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson and those guys that influenced it all, Johnny Cash got his show on TV, the Johnny Cash Show, and his very first guest, he demanded to be Bob Dylan, even though the country music folks didn't want it to be.
And didn't Willie leave Nashville because he was just disillusioned with the formula, and he thought, I'm going to go to Austin and just form, and all that stuff came out of that. I don't know if I have that right, but I think that's what I understood.
Well,
Hank Sr. never played the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
Really?
That's right.
I did not know
They did
that.
not like him.
Well, you would think he would.
He invented the rock and roll lifestyle. He was the true, first rock and roll kid, man.
Bad boy.
Died in the back of a Cadillac somewhere going across country. That is the rock and roll lifestyle. Sorry, kids. You might want to not get into this. No.
Woody Guthrie was a rebel.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's always been a part of music, rebellion.
Yeah.
I guarantee somebody playing a flute at some pyramid 2,000 years ago was mad at the king.
Absolutely.
Well, and so as a writer, you hope that the expression comes out, that it reaches somebody on a visceral level, somewhere that somebody can relate to what you're trying to put out.
Well, I think one of the main points of all art that isn't commercial art, that isn't being paid to be a specific thing, one of the main purposes behind it is speak truth to the power.
Yeah.
It's a way through paintings, through poems, through songs, all of it. It's a way to speak truth to the power. I mean, there's other main reasons for it, but I think that is one of the big ones that goes back to the beginning of time. When they first started communicating across big valleys with drums. They're like, "Can you believe what the chief did today?" And it was you couldn't say it out loud because the chief would hear you, so you start communicating with drum beats. I don't know. I make up a lot of this stuff in my head.
But it's true, though. What you're saying,
I feel like it probably
is
is.
Exactly right. Music at the gut is expression. It should be about expression, and hopefully it reaches somebody.
Dennis
I always crack up when I hear him talking about some of this stuff, because if you don't know him, you'd think he'd been in 1,000 recording studios, done all this massive recordings, and he doesn't have many releases out there.
You know what?
But I'll tell you about a few of them if you want.
I've got hours and hours of original material recorded. I just don't ever. There's just no point in releasing it. It's just just a thing, man.
I can say everything I ever released, I hate. It's terrible. I don't want anyone to hear it.
And there's why. There's one of the reasons why it's just locked up in a computer, man.
So there you go.
You're always critical of yourself, though, don't you think? You're always,
absolutely.
You're always most critical of yourself.
Yeah.
There's somebody out there that might reach out to you.
And a lot of times, you're writing songs for different. As a songwriter, I'm sure you realize, there's. A lot of time, most of the songs I write, I'm not writing for anybody to hear. I'm writing it for therapy to get over some stupid thing that's happening in my life. And
there's
this is
a level
the easiest
of truth
way.
to that. Yeah,
and a lot of the songs, I've had my band, the guys I'm playing with, original stuff with now, recently asked for old songs that I forgot about. That I'm like, I don't even know how to play this song anymore. That is one of them. Oh my gosh!
Liquid Courage. I mean,
no, that
I always like that one.
Liquid Courage. That says it all, right?
It
there.
does. I've always said that about that.
That's
song.
about 35-year-old song right there. I was a kid when I wrote that.
Open D tune.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's got to be 2 chords to it. I don't know. But so anyway, you guys have been recording up with Ryan Masaba to get back to BC Homegrowns. We've kind of spun way off tracks, which happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Recording, what's the name of Birdsong? Is that?
It's okay.
Let
me get this right. Okay, because I wrote it down because I knew my spacey self. It's called Bird Cloud Recording.
Yeah,
he used to be above Mojo's in Edwardsville. Now he's got an old church in Collinsville.
Nice.
And so he said he was going to take the cross off, but he thought that would be sacrilegious, and there would still be like the element of where the cross was. So he left it up there.
Yeah.
And he's got an old cat that runs around the studio.
I'm going to tell you a good reason why you want to keep that up. Keeps the vampires out. I'm just going back to what I learned.
And if you want vampires in, turn it upside down. Because that's made a lot of great music too.
It didn't just make some great music. Great music that was made, it just helped sell, like Sabbath, where they didn't want that on there necessarily. But the record company's like, put it upside down, cross on there.
Just think of all the bands that were into Aleister Crowley. All of a sudden didn't exist.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of new music we could write because all those bands that inspired us are gone now.
Oh,
so. It reminds me of Bill Hicks. If you're against drugs, go home and burn all your albums. Yeah. Because those guys that wrote those albums, they were on a lot of drugs.
You know what reminds me of Bill Hicks? The fact that I've ate my body weight in mushrooms. That third eye open.
It's wide open. Feeding the third eye, are we?
Once again, the greatest thing about music, it can go so many different ways. It can be produced so many different ways, and there is no right answer. That's really what it comes down to. One thing you do need to know is that on March 14th, you guys will be playing at Fast Eddie's.
That's true.
And then April 12th, they'll be playing at the Franchise in Wood River.
Correct.
And then back to Fast Eddie's on May 16th, right? And then you go back to one of your home haunts, Laux Brickhouse, right? You guys have played there for a long time.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Nice.
And that's on the 7th of June. And then Baker's and Hale out on the Godfrey Road there, 21st. That's not Godfrey Road, though. It turns, don't it?
Yeah.
I get lost on those roads.
If you get close, just listen.
Yeah, they flipped them on me. at one point. I'm like, I didn't know
We'll
they
be
were.
outside by then. Nice weather. I'm so
Over
ready
there
for that.
used to just be a field. Well, still is a field.
But we were talking about pyramids, and that brings me to the Aztec Theater.
Yes.
What is that all about?
So that's just really cool. We've got a promoter that we've been working with for a while, Bob Pennington with Rock and Mock Productions in Kansas City. And Bob he's trying, it's a tough, just like you mentioned, it's a tough sell with an original band. Every one of his bands are tribute bands, except us. And so he's always trying to find a way to get us into a venue. The Aztec is kind of like the Wildey in a really nice upscale area of Shawnee, Kansas, which is Kansas City on the Kansas side. And great little theater, and we're going to do an original compilation there on, I think it's like the 26th of June. Yeah.
Road gig.
Nice, yeah.
Road gig. Road party.
Absolutely, man.
Right. So you got some more gigs on this list, but I want to go over some stuff that's happening this weekend for the folks out there who tune in to see where they're going to be heading this weekend. And we got the Psychedelic Symphony down at Cat Daddy's on Friday night from 7 until 10. We got Clay Bitter. Haven't heard him. 1:30 to 5:30 at Fast Eddie's, and then Hollywood 5 at Fast Eddie's. And we had talked. You guys have just started playing down there at Fast Eddie's. It seemed like for the longest time it was the same thing every weekend or every week, same players. You had to be kind of in there. But lately they've opened things up. And how'd you guys get in Fast Eddie's?
I think, I've got a good friend, Ross Laux, who is now a pretty high stakeholder in there. Yeah. And I've played for Ross for years at the Brickhouse, and he when he started, he thought, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to try to bring some local talent in here. So we were fortunate in knowing Ross that we kind of got early on into that mix. And I think you'll see more of that.
I think we've been seeing that, and I've been kind of anxious to talk to you guys because we were looking at it from the outside. We knew Ross took over. We're like, okay, different bands. Must be his idea. We didn't know that for sure, and thanks to you for confirming that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Also going on Friday night, Flip the Frog doing the VFW at Alton, Soulshine Groove doing the Moose and Wood River from 7 to 10, dealing pianos out at Baker's and Hale and Godfrey from 7 to 10. Jared Lutt's going to do the Brick House out there in Bethalto, Laux Brickhouse from 7 to 10. Blake Foltz at the Shoreline Bar and Lake Supply at Holiday Shores in Edwardsville from 7 to 10. Lanny and Julie doing Sam's Last Chance Saloon, which used to be called the Corner Tavern right there in Edwardsville near the Wild E. And across the parking lot, that's the Backstage Bar and Patio in Edwardsville. And Pete Kryshak Project going to be there on Friday night. Scott Marlin around the corner at Big Daddy's in Edwardsville. And Mike Sunderregger going to do the Chop House, the 1818 Chop House in Edwardsville from 6 to 9. Ryan Holting's having his 50th birthday at the cabin at Judy Creek on Friday night. So there's some Edwardsville Glen Carbon action for the folks out there. Now we'll move on to Granite City, where Chaser, our friends Chaser,
nice,
that's Lance,
who
has like 100 band names now all of a sudden.
Lazy Lester.
He's got Lazy Lester. He's got Lone Lester.
Yeah.
He's got Lucky Lester. If not, he does now.
You heard it here first.
Right. Also taking place down in, it's Plantology. Robert Plant Tribute at the Mill.
Oh, nice.
On Friday night. So that's beyond Led Zeppelin there.
Yeah, it's doing all the plant stuff.
Doing the Ship of Fools, probably. Remember that song?
Yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah. What else is going on? We got Rockin' Rascals at Tegan's from 7 to 11, and Andrew Dahl up there at George's Pub and Grill in Jerseyville. That's just a Friday night, and we haven't even got to Road to Point Fest, which is happening still over in Sauget. I was able to go check that out last Friday night.
How did that go?
The Birds of Squalor put on an amazing show.
I assumed they would.
They were tight. They thought things through. They put on a show. They had an intro to their show that none of the other bands did.
Nice.
Unfortunately, that's not enough. Unfortunately,
enough.
The band that opened for them, it was called Halpin. They were all very young. This was their first big show.
Wow.
And from Muscuda, Illinois. Ended up winning it.
Wow. Okay.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a tough deal, man.
Yeah, that is a
get
tough
to play
one.
Point Fest because they sold out 2 sets of tickets. Birds of Squalor.
Yeah.
You know, so that's always a big part of it. But
and then to follow it up with a good show.
Oh, man, they killed.
Yeah.
And everyone there knew it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's tough.
I've been in that situation, so
yeah,
kind of get it, but
right.
don't get it. But yeah,
yeah.
Shout out to Halpin, which once again, it all depends on the ear of the guy that decides all that stuff, not necessarily us, right?
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
That's just how music goes. So many ups and downs.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about. It's a roller coaster ride, man.
Ride that ride, and you got to believe that's your CD, right? 10-song CD.
Gotta believe, yeah.
You're getting some a little bit of airplay on that. I've seen.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we hooked up with a guy that does indie radio, and so it's playing all over. I mean, we've been in Spain, we've been in the UK, we've been in Australia, we've been in LA, Oklahoma City, Connecticut. Just all over the place.
Several different songs too, or just,
2 songs.
Okay.
Yeah, the way the guy, he wanted me to deliver 2 songs to him that were more on the rock side, because we do some country rock and some rock, and so we gave him some rock songs, and I got to say he's following through.
So what
I
songs
had
are
new
we
stuff from him today, as a matter of fact.
What songs are we talking about?
Howling Into the Night and 6 Wires.
Okay,
is what we chose for that, and so they're doing well. We've been number 1 on several of these independent radios, and we're still hanging in there after 3-4 weeks. We're still in the top 10 on several stations, so that's really cool.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Nice,
good to hear. And then, of course, all that stuff, your stuff, available on all the normal places: Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube. So
that same guy helped me with that, because I'm a ding dong. I was looking all like, I get overwhelmed. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Look, dude, okay, put your phone down," and he coached me into it.
So back in the day, we used to have to get our analog recordings to a warehouse. Now they just call them digital warehouses, and they go all over the world when you put them in those. So
yeah.
We use CD Baby. I don't know which one you guys...
CD Baby's still out there. That's who we use to produce the physical albums and CDs and stuff with CD Baby. And that's actually, they were very good to work with. Good pricing and the quality product. I think our albums, they did a great job. They're just the packaging, everything was fantastic.
And I think they're like one of the original, once it went digital to CDs, they were one of the original, you could get your band in there and get your stuff, physically made and distributed on some level.
The albums, they had to go to, our albums were made in like Czechoslovakia. They had to go, over to Europe to physically make vinyl. There's just hard to get vinyl made.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But CDs were easy, and there's still a number of people that buy CDs.
Oh, yeah.
I like CDs myself. I like CDs, so I don't know.
Quite honestly, I think it comes down to what type of CD you're getting, because me, honestly, I'm really tired of listening to MP3s.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so squashed, and I'll listen to like an old classic tune that I love, and I just want to turn it off because it doesn't sound good to me.
No, it's not the same.
And I pull the CD out with a WAV file on it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I wanted.
It was the same way when we went from vinyl to cassette. You
can't beat vinyl.
Yeah, you can't. Well, it's got the most frequencies.
Warmth. There's just warmth
it's the
in
deepest.
there.
And every time we keep breaking it down to a smaller amount of frequencies, which takes the sound thinner, but we can package a million. You can have your phone and have a million songs right here, real easy. But I like some of the bands started recording for MP3s, because that's the thing. Man, I like the bands that are still recording for WAV files at least, because that gives us a chance to hear.
Which, we learned from Kevin Hamilton, technically it's a digital recording made to a vinyl, so it's not even the same as back in the day.
It's not tape. It's not tape. 2-inch tape.
But if you digitally keep it, if you digitally don't squash it to an MP3 and keep it at least as big as a WAV file, you have so much more of a rich, full sound. Usually, I mean, it is what it is. It's a brave new world, right?
Remember those old systems? You had the speaker, the tower speaker. You have your Brandt system or whatever. Pioneer,
still got them.
And you'd have their 5 racks. And big old tower speakers.
The first band it was like the 1970s, early 80s style. They had the first band that I got asked to play, and I didn't even know how to tune my guitar. And so, obviously, it didn't work out. I had a guitar, and they're like, "You don't even know how to tune it. How are you going to play it?" I'm trying. But nobody wanted to sing because we were kids, and they said, "You can sing." I said, "I have a PA," and they took headphones, plugged them into the auxiliary of one of those old 70s, and I sang into the headphones. And that's when I learned how, what you were talking about earlier with the
backward speaker.
The backward speaker,
Yeah.
And that was the PA system, was the home stereo system with those big speakers, and you're singing through big old cushy headphones, 70s headphones,
I tell you, there's a number of people that they're all into the vinyl. I mean, they just love the vinyl, and I get it. I totally love it too.
My daughter's 16, and I got her a record player a few years ago, and she buys albums. She goes out and buys actual vinyl, and I've given her a bunch of mine. I see it in her room every now and again. She'll have some pulled out.
Albums at our shows.
Yeah.
They go quicker than the CDs and the thumb drives.
Well, the last I heard, vinyl was outselling all formats of music.
I don't doubt that.
It was outselling CDs and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
It's just super cool to me because
cool.
I long for the days of the Cold War. No. We were all together hating someone, instead of hating each other. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Cracked me up the first time I was messing with a keyboard that had a sample of like the needle falling onto the vinyl.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's like-
remember the big bamboo? You open it up, there's a big old paper in there. It doesn't get any cooler than that. Cheech and Chong understood it,
So we're talking to BC Homegrown. You can check out their music at bchomegrownmusic.com. You get T-shirts there.
We do.
You got the vinyl there.
We do.
Everything's there.
Everything is there.
bchomegrownmusic.com.
Yes.
That's where you need to go if you want to find out more about you guys. You got a Facebook page as well.
Absolutely, and call, talk to us. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, all that stuff. We're totally into our audience. We love people to feedback to us.
And that's why you were able to get them all to come out and see you at that theater, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're going to get back, and there's going to be messages. I don't like the Puerto Ricans now. I'm just saying, you can't just open the world up to give you suggestions, man.
Yeah. Somebody has to watch that stuff first. Screening. We have screening. My wife does all the screening.
Scrubbers.
Oh my gosh! So let me ask you: is there the new compilation of songs that you are putting together at Bird Cloud, EP? LP,
whatever.
An
EP right now. Yeah, we did 5 songs in the last 2 days, and so we've got to finish up vocals and secondary instruments, things like that.
Nice.
So that's.
Are you far enough along to have an estimated release time?
Oh, talking to Ryan last night, I think we'll be able to put something out by May.
Nice.
Probably May. We'll be ready to do something.
That's fast, man. You're moving. You boys are moving.
Planning a big show later this year. So.
Just in time for your next Fast Eddie show. The 16th of May. We hope to see it by then.
I think these songs. Some of the songs we're doing that we already play.
Okay.
But you think you'll have the CD available by then?
If not, then by June 7th at Laux Brickhouse.
I learned from the last time, so I think we'll have the recording done and a finished product ready. But then you got to go make them.
Then
that takes time too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those albums, like for instance, last time, my gosh, that took it was like 2 months. Because they had to go to Czech Republic. I think it was on a turtleback or something to get.
Well, the guy over there has one of those suitcase things where he makes one album at a time. He just there's one.
So it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
So by the time you have a physical product, it may be June or July.
Yeah. We're hoping for
August 31st, Bethalto Homecoming. There's a perfect time.
Yeah.
Pick up a BC Homegrown CD. You'll be playing at the Brickhouse in the beer tent there.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming there's going to be a
gig.
release party.
Gig.
I'm assuming there'll be a release party. Maybe at the Lincoln Theater. I don't know. Somewhere.
Well, that's not on the list. So
I would say it's
not on the list.
Theaters.
There's room on this list, though. So if
we have room, yes.
If people are looking to book you guys, it looks like you're playing roughly once a month, sometimes 2-3 times
that's
a month.
That's about right.
Early
we
on.
didn't overbook. We know we wanted to spend some time in the studio, and we're leaving it open too with this Kansas City connection we have, hoping to maybe get some festivals and things like that.
There you go.
Plus, some of the guys in the bands are in other bands too. So,
that agent that you're working through in Kansas City, I bet one of his bands that he works with is called Casey Bones. They're a Grateful Dead cover band out of K. When you said he does tribute bands, I'm like, I bet he does Casey Bones because they're the big Grateful Dead Kansas City tribute band. So,
he might have them.
Yeah. So what else we got going on Saturday around St. Louis?
Got some Saturdays going on. That's for sure. Like always around the River Bend, the Lonesome Blues is back at the conservatory. They just played there, Mr. Darius Spangler. But, hey, gig opened up. Lonesome Blues stepped in.
Nice.
So Yeah, this Saturday at the Conservatory for that. We got Naked Soul, 1:30 to 5:30 in Hollywood 5 at Fast Eddie's, 7 to 11. Cabin Fever, going to do Bakers and Hale from 7 to 10 on Saturday. Champagne Fix down at the Pump House in Wood River, starting at 9. Grand Pagano up at George's Pub and Grill in Jerseyville, 6 to 9 for that one. Scott and Carl at the Grafton Winery from 3 to 7. The Bedlam Brothers going to be at the Grafton Pub from 2 to 6. And it looks like the weather's going to be good for some Grafton action this weekend. Yeah, so that's good. Out at Wigglers and Holiday Shores, it's a little-known fact. That is a fact. A little-known fact is playing at Wigglers in Holiday Shores from 7 to 11. How about Black Magic, the Santana Experience? Ooh. That's the 8 o'clock show at the Wild E Theater in Edwardsville. Wonder if they had to pay $3,600 to rent that place.
Well, they use some black magic.
Across the parking lot, Clueless. 9 o'clock at the Backstage Bar and Patio in Edwardsville. Scruffy-looking Nerf Herder around the corner at Big Daddy's from 6 to 9. Lanny and Julie right next door from 2 to 5 at the Foundry Public House in Edwardsville. Stagger Inn, Benbow City Shuffle from 5 to 8, doing the happy hour at the Stagger on Saturday. Aaron Wilkerson will be at the Cabin at Judy Creek. Money Shot down at Deutz. Brother Jefferson. Tickets available for that at the Mill, 7 o'clock in Granite City. Classic Crush going to be at Bindy's from 7 to 11 in Granite. Scott and Michelle at Pavilla's Place in Granite on Saturday. And Rock Bottom all the way down to the Downtown Pub, which used to be the Imperial Pub in Granite City, 8:30 for the Rock Bottom crew. Pete Krychek doing the Route 66 Kickstand Bar in Granite City on Saturday. So there's some Saturday stuff.
Nice.
I see Pat Jones is doing the Prairie Inn in Dorsey. It looks like you guys are playing the Prairie Inn a few times this year.
Yep, got
let's
a couple
see.
gigs out there.
July 5th, you'll be at the Prairie Inn, and then September 14th, the Prairie Inn, and yeah. A lot of Laux Brickhouses here doing a Halloween party at Laux Brickhouse, the New Year's Eve party, and the homecoming, and so yeah, you can always catch up.
And that place is huge now. It used to be this tiny little.
Oh yeah, a shotgun bar.
And then they bought the building next to it, and then closed it in between the two of them. And that place is just huge now.
Yeah. Several shows at Baker's and Hale, so doing those quite a bit.
Love playing there.
That's stumbling distance from my house.
They're very band friendly. They do a lot for music. You know, Baker's and Hale does.
Yeah, that's cool, man. We appreciate it all winter long, 3-4 nights a week out there at the Baker's and Hale. They got the patio now enclosed, and they'll be opening that thing back up and doing those shows out in the parking lot. The weather,
I like that time of year.
A little easier to breathe.
It's great.
Yeah. So
and they set up that nice cover, the nice tent, and
it's easy load in.
They do it good out there.
Easy for the band.
Matt Tall out there on Sunday.
Nice.
3 to 6. So
excellent.
So there you go.
All right. Well, that sounds like a fine weekend coming up, man. Hey, gonna say before we as we wind our last few minutes down here, happy to have you guys back, man.
Thanks for having us.
Again, we look at it like, to me, this is a success story. The fact that you guys did the flip from one day you're Screaming Eagles, cover band to now we're an original band and very quickly put out an album. I mean, I don't know if you've been working on it a while, but it seemed like from the switch to the album coming out happened quick. Mm-hmm. And then to throw your own paid show at a 500, capacity place that early in the life of a band.
We're old, though. We don't have a lot of time.
Well, I screw around. I was going to say, that is one of the things I've noticed. It's like, if you get in a band with a bunch of old people that have been in bands, usually they got a few people that, you bring 5 people and I bring 5 people, that's 10 people, right?
Yeah, that's how it used to go. And it actually reminds me of one of these shows on this list here, talking about old guys, Ultraman.
Oh, yes, Scumfest.
Right, Scumfest 13. And this is how we used to do our original shows. You get a lot of bands to show up and bring 5 people apiece.
Exactly.
Right? And they've got the Boll Weevils, Ultraman, Valancourt, Hot Rails, Rum Luck, Strong Arm and the Bullies, Stay Sane, PFR, Number One Stones. And we didn't charge $35 back in the day. We charged $5 for all those normally. But hey, those guys have been doing this a long time, and I bet they pack the place.
And $35 today would buy what $3.50 bought back then.
True,
Probably.
Right?
So,
Yeah. That's a 4 o'clock start at Red Flag.
Nice. And Ultraman, that's digging deep.
It is.
That is digging deep right there.
They probably seen the plane crash into Menard's Pub. Right?
They were there.
That's right.
I was there when that plane hit Bernard's Pub, man.
Them and Dead Planet.
You know what? I was actually sitting there in my mind kind of thinking, I think Dead Planet was like early 80s. Ultraman was right in there.
Matter of fact, they talked about playing shows with Ultraman when we had him on.
I mean, I realized that at the same time you did have, a punk rock spawning across the pond in the late 70s. And even we brought up old Gibby Haynes and the Butthole Surfers.
Yeah.
That was 78, I think, was their first album. A lot of
Was
people
it
don't
his
realize how
dad
fast
that
that goes
had
back.
the TV studio? That's where they recorded their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always good to have a connection.
Absolutely. It's always nice to have a studio. So, hey, man, I can't thank you guys enough for coming down and hanging out, man. Looking forward to the new release.
Thank you.
It's only an EP, and I prefer a full release.
Well, we may over time do that. Yeah, you don't want to stop in the middle of a release.
Well, I mean, to each his own.
It's frustrating.
The kids are into weird stuff these days.
I
I was up looking at the internet last night. These kids today are into weird
They
stuff.
don't even know about Kama Sutra. I don't, they don't know what they got.
I mean, let's just admit it's weird that book came from like one of the dirtiest places on earth. It's kind of like I just don't know. Nobody's bathed for
You can't argue with it though.
The numbers.
The science is there.
Yeah, the science is there.
Yeah.
The numbers add up.
It's scary.
Yeah. Some of those numbers add up better, like the 6 and the 9 add up. I don't know. If a 6 turned out to be 9.
They just work out.
Yeah, they do. They do.
It's
We
a
can work
perfect
it
number.
out. Hey, good. Best of luck to you guys with the
Thank
new
you.
release. Happy to hear that a couple of songs from Believe are getting pushed. Not only here, but I used to say across the seas in Spain.
We're humbled. It's awesome.
Absolutely. And
Check out everything you need to know about BC Homegrown at bchomegrownmusic.com. You can find them on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube. You can get T-shirts at bchomegrownmusic.com. You can find Radio Indie Alliance and check out their stuff on the charts there, right?
yeah.
All right, top 100 at least still, right?
Yep.
What was it? It was 6 Wires, and what was the other one?
Howling into the night.
Howling into the Night. There you go. Those are the ones to look for right there from BC Homegrowns. And again, all the Facebook, all that stuff, just check out BC Homegrowns, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely. Love to hear from you.
You might find buds when you search BC Homegrown.
Well,
You might.
BC, the BC seed bank's been around a long time, man.
But although we close the shop at 9 p.m. these days, so we're day drinkers.
For the band, add music. Keyword there, BC Homegrown Music.
BC Homegrown Seeds. This is British Columbia. Which, when I first saw BC Homegrowns, that is the first thing that went to. I'm
Dude,
like,
I couldn't
British
get
Columbia
When
Homegrown.
I had to get my whatever they call it, your place in the world of internet. I couldn't get BC Homegrown. It was taken by British Columbia Homegrown.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, well, BC Homegrown Music. And that's okay. Okay, we'll take that.
Look, if the kids have taught us anything, you got to add a number in your name, and it's the only way to differentiate yourself these days. Be like Prince and just be a symbol. Yeah.
Hashtag BC Homegrown .1.
There you go. Hey, thanks so much, guys, for
Thanks
coming
for having
down,
us.
hanging out with us. Everybody, get down to Fast Eddie's. What was the date again?
14th.
14th.
Yeah,
There you go. Get
14th.
down to Fast Eddie's on the 14th. That is your, I think, next chance to
We will be
to see it,
rocking
to
and
see it
rolling,
live.
baby.
There you
That
go.
is the next chance, but don't forget the franchise on April 12th back at Fast Eddie's on the 16th of May. Got the Brickhouse on the 7th of June, Baker's and Hale on the 21st of June, and the Aztec Theater
Nice.
on the 27th of June.
Come on
you
out
guys,
to Kansas City.
you guys are busy in June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, best of luck with all of those, especially that Aztec, man. That's going to get mystical up there. Oh, yeah. That's going to get crazy, yeah. So, hey, big thanks to our sponsors also, Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance and, of course, Halpin Music Company. Been with us almost 10 years now. Thanks so much for allowing all this jackassery. Everybody, remember, whatever you're going to do, get out, support local music and art.